Hey everybody, it's good to see you again. Sorry, I'm in my car again. I'm still on tour. I'm just changing which window is open so that there's not too much traffic noise. Well, touring around the US, 16 state tour. It's a lot of fun. You get to experience a lot of life, a lot of the US, a lot of beautiful terrain. You experience, you meet a lot of people while touring around like this on a giant road trip. And a lot of the people you meet are great, and a lot of the people you meet are not so great. And in today's show, I'm going to talk about some of those not so great people. And I guess I'm doing it in the hope that if you're one of them, then you might think a little bit more about the things that you're doing and stop. I doubt people will. I doubt people will. If you're a inconsiderate person, then my guess is you're going to stay inconsiderate. But maybe if I say the words and I point out why certain things are not good, then it might make some people think a little bit about that. But let me update you on the tour, because why am I on this tour? This is a UFO contact tour, and I am traveling around 16 states, hosting 24, 25 events in different places where we go outside, where we meditate, we reach out to any beings that are up there in the sky, and we ask them to come to us. And in most of my events, we have had anomalous, unusual things appearing in the sky. On one of those occasions so far, it has been a very definite, that is an alien craft. And that was quite exciting. We had meditated, and we actually meditated indoors. And there was quite a nice size group, maybe about 15 people. And after that meditation, a couple of people went outside to go to their cars, and above the tree line, there was an alien craft, a bright, luminous alien craft in the sky. And they looked at it, and then it disappeared in a flash, and the whole sky flashed when that happened, and that flash was seen by more people. So that was pretty cool. We then went outside and sat down and lay down and meditated some more, and invited that craft to come back to us. And about 20 minutes later, I can't be 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure it was that craft that came back, and I caught it on video. And so I'm going to release that video in about 3 weeks when I'm back home. I will probably show it on this show so that you can all see the craft that came back to us when we invited it to come back. That's pretty cool. Now, it's interesting being in the position that I'm in, where I am connecting with these beings. Yes, we're seeing them in the sky, but something more profound is happening. During my events, they are coming to us on the ground. Now, it's not very common for us to see physically alien beings walking towards us on the ground. That's not what they do. That exposes them to too much risk. The military and other people out there have been inviting beings to come in for many years, and then when they've come in, they've been shooting them and getting their technology and their craft, and the aliens are not so interested in having people do that to them. So they're very cautious. But the people around on the ground, the humans around on the ground who are psychic, or who have some level of psychic perceptions, they feel these beings come in, they see them come in, and in the same event, you can have several different people seeing the same beings coming in, and they're pointing in the same place, saying, look, over there, that's where the beings are right now. And they're bringing the same messages. The messages that they're bringing to us, to my group, are messages of love and light and friendship, which is good, because those are the messages that I'm sending out to them. And very often those messages and our perceptions are so strong that many people in the group are perceiving the same thing. I hosted an event recently in Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee. And at that particular event, when I asked people to say, how many beings are you perceiving? Everybody in the group were perceiving 3 alien beings around us on the ground. So that was very cool. Now, as well as doing this sort of outdoors event, I'm doing a lot of communicating with different species of beings through spiritually perceptive people, mediums, psychics. A lot of them are professional. Some of them are like high level professional psychics who it's what they do as a job, as a career, is communicate with the spirits of humans, and they are helping me to communicate with different alien entities. And again, when I'm doing that, even though they're professional mediums, I can have 3 or 4 or 10 in a meeting so that it's confirmed that everybody's perceiving the same things and adding weight to the reality of what's happening. And I am in the situation where I have fairly open communication with some alien species on a fairly regular basis. When I say fairly regular basis, it depends how often I have time to communicate with them. But on those occasions when I have some time, I am connecting with these beings through mediums, and I am having conversations with them. These are conversations that are being confirmed. The content of the conversations are being confirmed by having different mediums at different times communicating with the same beings, and we're getting the same messages. And it's very interesting, the conversations that I'm having with alien beings. They really are supporting my vision, my push, my mission, which is to try to enable humanity to ascend. Now, ascending means different things to different people. If everybody had the same idea about what ascension was, then we'd all be ascending. But like with morality, some people think that doing this is the right thing, and some people think that doing completely the opposite is the right thing. It's like that with ascension. What ascension means to an individual is different. But I have come to understand that these beings consider my version of what ascension is to be in line with their version of ascension. My version of morality is in line with their version of morality. And it's really very simple. It's very hard for human beings, but it's very simple. My version of morality is based on the vision of universal peace, universal love, universal well-being. Now, that's easy to say, and it's easy for people to say, "Oh, yeah, I like the idea of that." But universal means, in all of those statements, it means that we unconditionally, there is no condition when we're saying universal, we unconditionally care about all conscious beings. That unconditional part is something that humans have problems with. Humans tend to be very focused on, these people here are doing what is right, they're doing what I agree with, I'm going to focus all of my positivity on these people, and everybody else gets my negativity. That's generally what human beings are. So imagine the idea of being unconditionally caring and peaceful. You're not even violent to people you don't like. You're not even violent to people who are doing things that you don't like. Unconditionally peaceful, unconditionally caring, unconditionally loving, and wishing well-being on others unconditionally. That means universal, that means all conscious entities, that means humans, that means animals, that means people of different genders, ethnic background, abilities, appearance, country, nationality, and species. Universal. That could be considered to be extreme. And well, yeah, the word extreme means right at the end of one end of a spectrum. But I would argue that being extremely considerate is, even though it might be extremist, it is good. It is right. Being extremely good to people is right. Being extremely caring towards people and aliens and animals, being extremely all of those good things is good. Being extremely respectful is good. And being extremely peaceful also is good. I emphasize peaceful because that's one that a lot of people have difficulties with. Peaceful is something that I think should be put at the top of the list of all of our priorities. So that's why these beings are connecting with me in this way. And we're having really significant conversations. And I'm going to stop short of telling you the specifics of the conversations. And I'm doing that because they're so deep and meaningful and purposeful that I would have people following me, stalking me, and probably killing me, certainly thwarting what I'm trying to do if they knew what I was doing. That's not because I'm doing anything illegal. It's because I'm doing things that are very, very profound to help these beings. They're giving me tasks and I am completing these tasks. And it's all good. It's all good stuff. It all fits in line with my universal peace, universal love, universal well-being. And I can't go into details. I suppose if you think about a government official who is negotiating with another country, a diplomat negotiating with another country, they're trying to do the right thing. Hopefully, they're trying to work in the direction of keeping each other happy and international peace, and that's the sort of thing that I'm doing. But they also have to keep secrets. They also don't reveal publicly all of their negotiations and everything they're doing. That's the situation that I'm in now. But you can join my group and get closer and closer and closer to what I'm doing. And if you work your way high up enough, you can actually be participating in the interactions that I'm having with these beings. They're friendly, they're nice, and the interactions are very profound and going very, very well. And I can talk to them now whenever I want to, which is pretty amazing. So that's what's happening on my tour. Now, I'm driving down through Georgia at the moment. I was in Atlanta, close to Atlanta this morning, had breakfast with a good friend there. And then I am continuing my journey down into Florida. If you would like to attend my event in Fort Lauderdale, on Fort Lauderdale Beach in Florida tomorrow evening, then join my group or send me an email, Rupert, contactguy@gmail.com, and I'll send you all the details of that event. The last time I was there last year on Fort Lauderdale Beach, we saw and videoed a large green UAP orb flying over the Atlantic Ocean. And yeah, very, very different from an airplane, very different from a satellite, a bright green orb. That was clearly anomalous. That was very cool. And then on Saturday, I am going to be in Tampa, Florida, or a little bit further west in Clearwater, on a beach there in Clearwater, we're going to be doing the same thing. So hopefully you could join us there if you live anywhere in that area. Then I'm going up around the coast. I'm going to Gulf Shores, Alabama. I'm going to New Orleans, what's that, Louisiana. And then continuing across to, I think the next stop is Roswell, and then across to Texas. I got that the right. I got that the wrong way around, but no worries. There's a few places in Texas: Houston, Austin, Marfa. I'm going to go and see the Marfa lights, and then to Arizona, and then finishing off the tour in Vegas. So if you like the idea of coming to one of my in-person events, email me at rupertcontactguy@gmail.com and ask me for the details of the event that you'd like to go to. Now, I was ill last week, which wasn't much fun when I'm on tour and I'm having to sleep in my car and keep driving, and that was not much fun. So I wasn't able to do what I wanted to last week. But this week I can. This week I'm going to. And I'm going to continue the conversation that I started 2 weeks ago on imposition. It sounds like somebody's deciding to drill or make some kind of loud noise over there in the distance. I hope that's not too annoying for you. Imposition. And, you know, in life in general, I personally think, wouldn't it be wonderful if people would just leave me alone? If people would just let me do what I want to do. It's not like I'm going around hurting people. I'm going around trying to spread light, love, and happiness in a very non-impositional way. Imposition in general is a bad thing. Forcing something upon somebody, you're forcing yourself upon somebody in any way at all is wrong. It's not good. We shouldn't be doing it. And I try to live my life in a way that I don't impose things upon people. And I just wish that everybody else out there would do the same thing. It is tough because being able to do whatever you want, that's a freedom. That's a wonderful thing. If ever there was a right for people to have anything, then that right would be for people to just let them do what they want to do. But obviously, if what you want to do is impose your will upon others, then that doesn't work. There's double standards. That's hypocritical, and it's not going to work. It only works for other people to not impose themselves upon you if you choose to do the same also. So not imposing ourselves upon others doesn't mean we're free to do anything we want to do. It means we're free to do anything we want to do as long as we're not imposing our will upon others. That's the only imposition that I think is valid. And 2 weeks ago, I started to go through a list of ways that people impose themselves upon others. And I didn't get to finish that list. I don't think I actually got more than about halfway through that list. So I'm going to go back to that list, and I'm going to talk now about ways in which people impose themselves upon others. And maybe while I'm talking, if people have an open mind, then we can all think about, do I impose myself upon others in the ways that I'm describing? And, everybody does what they do because they think that what they do is right. But maybe if what you're doing is inconsistent with what I'm suggesting is right, maybe you can at least go away and think about that. Okay, well, the first thing to talk about is I did get ill. I caught something while I was on tour. Why did I catch something? Well, a virus probably was transmitted from another person to me. Now, when COVID happened and I was working in an environment with lots of people up close, we were all required to wear masks. And for about 2 years during that period of time, even though I was working up close next to people, because we were all wearing masks, we weren't transmitting viruses between us, and I didn't get ill once. I now live up in some mountains in California, and I don't interact with a lot of people up there in person, and I don't get ill up there. It's funny when I post pictures of this is the squirrel I'm interacting with at the moment, or these are the elk or the deer or the gopher that I'm interacting with on my hill, and people are like, "Oh, Rupert, aren't you worried about rabies?" And I'm like, I've never caught any disease from an animal, but I've caught diseases from humans hundreds of times, colds, flus, etc., hundreds of times. Humans are the beings we're likely to catch things off. But if you isolate in a way that you're not having that contact, that physical connection with people, you just don't catch their diseases. If you're wearing a mask, and I'm going to speak openly about this because I'm a scientist, and obviously if you put something over your face, then if you're coughing and sneezing, that's going to reduce the probability of transmission. That's a scientific fact, and you can believe what you want to believe, and a lot of unintelligent people believe contrary to that. But putting a mask over your mouth and your nose decreases the chance of you transmitting the disease to somebody else, and also the other way. And yes, there are little spaces in the masks, but we're talking about probabilities, and we're talking about sizes, and droplets of water don't pass through the little holes in the mask, and they are they're severely impinged upon their ability to come out through those holes and then travel forwards over people. If you ever have a meal with people and you cough without putting your hand over your mouth, that's bad manners. It doesn't feel right. And if somebody else is doing it at the table, you've probably just got a spurt of droplets of disease all over your food and maybe your face. This is common sense, but people don't always have common sense. So why am I talking about this? Because somebody imposed their disease upon me during my tour. I don't think it was at one of my events, because I would have noticed. But I do go into shops. I do have to buy stuff. I do go into Planet Fitness to try and stay healthy, ironically, and to use the showers and stuff like that while I'm traveling around. And I have noticed in my weeks of traveling, maybe one or two people wearing masks in Planet Fitness, but I have noticed maybe 10 to 20 people coughing and sniffing around me in places like Planet Fitness and Walmart. If you have a disease, I'm going to get to the point. If you have an illness, if you have a cold or a flu, and you go out into a public place and you don't wear a mask, you are inflicting harm upon others. You are very likely making other people ill. And that's not moral, that's not wise. And if you believe otherwise, you need to switch news channels and start watching reality instead of propaganda. So this is a space scientist talking about something very, very simple. You personally, and this might be a slight over exaggeration, but it's, to me, if you have some like the flu and you go to somewhere crowded like Walmart or Planet Fitness without wearing a mask and you're coughing and you're sniffing, that is not far away from assault, in my opinion. And somebody was inconsiderate enough to give me that disease. And I have a good immune system. I'm a healthy eater. I exercise every day. Um, and but these viruses mutate and change in a matter of weeks, and our bodies are not evolved for the new strains. And yes, I caught something, and so somebody assaulted me. Somebody knocked me out, made me very uncomfortable for just over a week, and that's not okay. Don't impose your disease upon others. Wear a mask. Um, and let's see. This is not so much. Well, I suppose it's an imposition. But it's more than this. It is just humans being unpleasant, humans being immoral. When I was ill and I had to go into a place like Walmart, I was wearing a mask, and I've talked about this before. But there, it is a nationwide thing. It is a human-wide thing that I've experienced probably 20, 30 plus times. When I go into a shop, a public place wearing a mask, I have people who deliberately walk close to me and cough deliberately on purpose because they see me wearing a mask. And this is a really low behavior. This is a person with a very low level of inconsideration. This is a person who is attacking me when they do that. And they don't know why I'm wearing a mask. I mean, a lot of the time I was wearing a mask because I didn't want to infect them, and they're coming over to me, walking past me and coughing. Now, this isn't a surprise to me because I've fully been exposed to the evil that is within human beings. But I'm just mentioning this because I want to make it clear. If you're one of those people who, when you see somebody wearing a mask, you deliberately start coughing that's very disrespectful. It's very inconsiderate. It's very unevolved. It's very unascended, and please don't do it. Now, when that happened to me, and it's happened to me 2 or 3 times while I've been wearing a mask, it really makes me see that an injustice is happening, a big injustice. Somebody is attacking me, and it makes me want to attack them back. I get that human instinct that this person is attacking me. That's like a form of assault, and I want to get them back. I want to get back at them. And on one occasion, after a man had done this twice to me in a Walmart, I started to follow that guy, thinking about what am I going to say? I'm going to take off my mask in front of him and say, you know what, I'm wearing a mask because I've got a disease. That's why I'm wearing a mask. You know, and in my mind and in my feelings, the human side of me is compelling me to do that. And this is where intellectually and morally we have to be able to recognize that the feelings and instincts that we have are not always right. Now, I decided to let my intellect and my morality override my desire to get back at that person, and I decided, stop, turn around, leave Walmart. And this is where human beings have opportunities. We all feel within us sometimes when somebody does us wrong, when somebody does us wrong or other people, we all feel like a response is required, a balancing of the scales, karma is necessary. But that is not moral. That just results in a cycle of attack, attack back, attack back, attack back. It is not a moral or a wise thing. So I get it. I get it, and I have to fight it, and I have to fight it every day because people are mean to me every day. But I encourage people to understand that not all of our instincts result in positive, wise, ascended behavior. And if all we're going to do is do what feels right, well, that's what's got the world into the mess that it's in right now. So every time you feel like you want to get back at somebody, every time you feel like you want to criticize somebody or be mean to somebody or bring somebody down in any way, just stop and think, okay, I might feel like I need to do that, but that's not ascended. I'm going to evolve. This is an opportunity to evolve, to be a little bit better than I was before. Okay, so that's my little bit about imposition with respect to illness and disease. The title of this show is The Curse of Imposition. And it's funny because it feels like I've been cursed. I don't think I have. It's just like, it feels like I've been cursed because whenever I pull up my vehicle to sleep, whether it's in the night or for an afternoon nap before I do an event, but whenever I pull up my vehicle, I pull up in a nice quiet spot so that I can, I roll down my windows, I put my sun netting over the windows to keep the sun out and to let the air in and to keep the mosquitoes out. And I settle down, and maybe 95% of the time, 95% of the time, I want to swear here, I'm not going to because I'm not that kind of person, but some inconsiderate person, impositional person, pulls up their vehicle right next to me and then leaves their engine running so that they can have their air conditioning on. Usually then they open the window and start playing loud music while I'm trying to sleep. Now, I know I'm in public areas and people can do that sort of thing and it's not against the law. But the inconsideration of people that they can't go to another spot that is free. Why do they have to pull up right next to me? And why don't they realize that if I'm in my vehicle, then having their music on loud with their windows down, their engine running, that is an imposition upon me. It's an imposition upon anybody that can hear their music. Noise pollution is an imposition. It's funny, in England, when people walk around with their mobile phones, people don't like imposing their conversation upon others. So they talk quietly like this. They don't impose their conversations upon others. In the US, that inhibition doesn't seem to exist in the same way that it does in England or in Europe. When Americans come to England and when I come to America, there are people around me who absolutely full on loud will let everybody within a 20-yard radius know what they're talking about on their phone. They don't care. There is this lack of inconsideration. There is the imposition of noise upon others. So the imposition of noise happens when I go to like camping places out in the countryside. I can go to a national park or a forest where all I would really like to do is be in nature, and somebody pulls up with an RV, leaves the engine running, turns on loud music in late into the night, shouting, and you know, I encourage people to consider a little bit about the imposition of noise, because noise is actually, it causes medical problems to people. It lowers our immune system, and it's not natural that we're around so much noise all of the time. If you feel like you're not as healthy as you could be, one thing you could try is wearing earplugs at night or when you sleep, or even when you work. Maybe cut down the noise levels might help you a little bit. Okay, what else do I have on my list here? Emails, text messages, calls. I touched on this a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know. Some guy I don't know very well. They've messaged me 2 or 3 times yesterday and today uh, in Messenger, so I get a notification coming up because that's how I communicate with my friends for important reasons. And all he's done is send me links to some videos. No idea what they are. I'm not gonna watch them because that's an imposition upon me. It's an imposition on people when you send them a message and that message results in a notification. Email not so bad because typically people don't get notifications on their phone when they get an email. I know you can, but if you're sending somebody like a text, then that's an imposition. When I was having breakfast this morning, the person I was having breakfast this morning with was received 4 or 5 text messages or notifications while we were eating. And she was not happy. She was visibly flustered, like, oh, why are people messaging me? Who could possibly need to talk to me right now? And just keep that in mind, that when you text or message somebody or call them, that's an imposition. If you send somebody a link and say, hey, what do you think about this video? You're imposing upon them. You're taking away some of their time so that they can watch the video. Now, if you're really good friends with somebody where you have that kind of established relationship, that's okay. Like if my mother or father were to message me or call me, or my sister, then fine. There's a few people that have that privilege, but just random people who see me on social media and decide they want to start sending me streams of information. It's like, no, I'm not interested in that. Stop, don't. I said this last week, 2 weeks ago, but I want to say this again. If you're driving and your driving causes another vehicle to have to change its direction or speed, change its velocity, in other words, then you have imposed upon them. Now, sometimes you can't help it. Let's say you're driving along, somebody's behind you, and a red stoplight comes on. You're going to have to slow down, and then therefore the person behind you is going to have to slow down. But if you pull out in front of somebody on a freeway, even if you're legally allowed to do so, if it causes the person behind you to then have to slow down to accommodate your sudden presence, that's an imposition. So just think about that. How often do you impose your will, your presence upon others when you're driving? Don't cause other cars to have to brake or change course. Let's see, noise pollution. I've talked about that. Going the wrong way in my notes. Oh, there you go. Okay. Personal space. When I go and sit down in a restaurant, or if I'm going for takeout, or like I said with my car, if you go into a Starbucks, you sit down, you want to do some work on your laptop. Yes, you're in a public place. No, it's not illegal for somebody to come and sit next to you. But why is it that people so frequently will come and impose themselves upon you right next to you when there are other seats available? This might sound like it's not important, and maybe it isn't important. Maybe this is just a little niggle that I have, but it's still an imposition. And if you're imposing yourself on somebody's personal space, you're imposing your whatever viruses or bacteria you've got in your lungs upon somebody. You're imposing your sorry, I just got a message come up on my screen. I don't think that's important. Okay. You're imposing your presence upon somebody. That's an imposition. An imposition is generally not good. I started to talk a couple of weeks ago about taxes. Taxes is an imposition. When the government taxes us, it's an imposition upon us. We have to pay our taxes. And wasn't that what the the big problems why the US decided to break with the UK, England in the past, because of taxes, unfair taxes. There are way too many taxes being put upon, I'll tell you, upon me right now, a completely unfair amount of taxes. And yes, that's an imposition. Now, this is not black and white. We do have to pay taxes so that we can get infrastructure built, so that we can keep our roads smooth and electricity and stuff working. We need some taxes, things like education, things like healthcare. I'm all for having taxes going into a universal healthcare system like in other countries. But a lot of our taxes are going towards things that we have no choice over, like defense, like weapons, like thousands of nuclear weapons, like unnecessary amounts of military might, like subsidizing industries which are causing climate change. Things like the fossil fuel industry, the meat and dairy industry. I don't have a choice over those things. That's an imposition upon me. Wouldn't it be wonderful if in a democracy we didn't just vote for which president or prime minister or party we wanted to get into power, and then thereby sort of indirectly voting for the big package of policies they have, this package of policies or that package of policies. Can you imagine a system where we didn't need somebody in charge like that, where all we did was on a regular basis, whenever we wanted to, we would sit down at a computer, we'd log in with our voting ID, and we would vote for issues. We'd vote for as many issues as we were interested in. That's how issues and policies got decided. It wasn't done on a party basis. It was done on a individual, personal voting for individual policies. And yes, I agree with this tax. No, I don't agree with that tax. And if the result of our voting on those taxes resulted in our roads degrading, then I think there'd be more people starting to vote for more money to be put into the roads, that sort of thing. So that's my little say on taxes. They're a necessary evil, but they're a bit too evil at the moment in my mind. And there's a similar grey area with all laws. We need to have laws in place so that others don't impose their will too much upon us. But that is an imposition. Yeah, there we go. I don't think it would work to have no laws, because then people would impose their will upon everybody, with no restraint. It should be, I want to make it clear that in relationships or dating situations or man and woman or person and person where there is interest, it is extremely wrong for anybody to force themselves upon anybody else. In fact, the forcing of somebody in those circumstances can be one of the most abhorrent crimes that there is, when physically somebody forces themselves upon somebody else. So I want to make it absolutely clear that that imposition in those situations is just not okay, and therefore asking permission is not such a bad idea in those situations. I think it would be nice if we could normalize asking permission more, because in order to avoid even worse things, I think asking permission in situations where there is potential dating stuff going on is very important. So I think people should be completely okay. Somebody asked me out like a few days ago, maybe a week ago, and in a message they stated their like of me, and basically anytime that I wanted to, we could be together. And there is a certain embarrassment factor that many people have in that sort of situation. But I think it's very healthy and strong and nice when people can just be honest and open. They were honest and open with me, and I was honest and open back. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in that kind of relationship, but I thank you very much. So it should be completely acceptable and normal and nice for people to ask permission to state an interest, and it should be understood that it's pretty much never okay to impose our opinion ourselves upon others in dating situations. Um, Obviously, that happens far more men towards women than the other way around. So men, be nice to women. That's my advice. I'm sorry if that sounds sexist, but in my experience, that's the way around it usually goes. Not always, but usually. Okay. Parents impose upon us. Parents impose upon children. Teachers impose upon children. You have to learn this. You have to go to school. So there is that imposition. And I think when it comes to children, there has to be some level of imposition in order for the child to learn what's necessary, because otherwise most children wouldn't want to learn. They would not go to school every day if they didn't need to, and that may well impact the happiness, the well-being of their lives, the success of their lives. So there needs to be a little bit of imposition. But we shouldn't be imposing, I think, I mean, this is a moral judgment, we shouldn't be imposing beliefs upon children. We should be exposing children to ideas, to concepts, to different perspectives, and then letting the children make up their minds. When it comes to things like science, still you don't need to, you only need to impose that they learn, that they go to school, they sit and they listen. The nice thing about science is that you can explain everything. It's like somebody says, well, I don't understand, how do we know that electrons exist? And then the teacher can explain that and say, well, let's get out a Van de Graaff generator. Let's try rubbing this piece of acrylic on a cloth and see what happens. But there is still sort of an imposition that there's learning. But when it comes to beliefs, like you just have to believe that this is our religious belief in this family, you're going to believe the same thing. That's an imposition that I think a lot of people then suffer through with for the rest of their lives. And often a sign of spiritual growth is when they're able to break free from their parents' conditioning. Okay, let's see. Film TV writers. Why did I put this in here? Okay, I put this in here because I care about movies, I care about TV shows, and sometimes a new writer will come along and impose something completely different upon a film series or a TV show. And when they do that, that's a real imposition upon the people that are going to watch that movie or that TV series. If you grow up liking the original Star Wars movies, and then you watch a movie like The Last Jedi, which completely destroys everything that the original three movies were about, that's an imposition. As far as I'm concerned, The Last Jedi was an intensely immoral movie that was brought out by people with in a very impositional way. They're doing similar things with Doctor Who, with other sci-fi shows, with when Picard came out, with entertainment that I liked. I want to talk briefly about meat eaters. I'm a vegan, and when you say that word, a lot of people immediately start treating you like you're a monster or a vampire or something, and holding up the cross and stuff. A lot of people say to me, Look, look, don't impose anything upon me. As a vegan, you shouldn't be imposing your views upon me. It's a personal choice for me to eat meat." And I have to stop and I have to say, really, it's a personal choice. But it's not just a personal choice, because you're imposing death upon an animal in order to eat that animal. That's a pretty major imposition. So, as a vegan, um, I might promote veganism and suggest to people maybe think about not eating meat or dairy. But even if I'm imposing my words into the uh, air around people's ears, the imposition that they're imposing upon all of the animals, the conscious sentient beings that they're eating, is a far greater imposition. If we're thinking that imposing upon others is a bad thing, you can't have much of a worse imposition than killing or paying somebody to kill. Um, and I've also got in here climate change. If you support the fossil fuel industry or the meat and dairy industry, which is the second largest contributor of greenhouse gas emissions, if you support either of those two industries, you're imposing severe climactic catastrophes upon people, which is already causing uh, loss of billions of dollars around the world, and the lives and the well-being of a lot of people. So those are all my thoughts on imposition. Have a think about it. Have a think about not imposing upon others. Have a think about doing no harm. Have a think about, wouldn't it be nice if people didn't impose themselves upon you in any way other than to stop you imposing upon others? Um, those are my thoughts on the subject of imposition. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope your weather where you are is better than the weather where I am. I'm now in a rain storm. I wish you a lovely rest of your day. Peace, love, and happiness to all of you. Take care, and goodbye for now.